Hi, everybody. Hello. Welcome to Wraff's Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree DLC gameplay reveal trailer breakdown. Let's find out how long I can talk about one 3-minute trailer, shall we? All right. So, for context, this is right after I finished my stream. I live streamed the reaction to the trailer. We watched it together on stream. I ended the stream after a couple of hours and I'm recording this. So I haven't seen too much discussion yet. I read an interview from IGN with Miyazaki. But other than that, this is just going to be what I'm seeing direct from the trailer. Starts so strong almost right away. This is what everyone expected. This is surprise to nobody. We have Mohg's Arena as the entry point to the DLC. Personally, I'm a little bummed because I was hoping they do something a little wackier. This was very expected, but nothing wrong with expected, especially since this is such a huge game. Adding a choke point that has something that no one can miss to enter the DLC is something that's been done previously, like in Dark Souls 3. This is neat. This is cool. And in terms of what the DLC is doing, this works. This works just fine. And FromSoft has plenty of time to be wacky. Also, this very first line likely refers to everyone's favorite Empyrean, Miquella. Also, really interesting here that we see this figure that's sort of ambiguous. I wonder if this isn't Melina. I'm not sure, but this cloak reminds me of hers. I feel like I've seen her so much, and yet I'm not sure about the details of her outfit. Either way, this is either some new figure or someone we're familiar with. Either way, the narrator right now is not someone we've heard of before.
He wields love to shrive clean the hearts of men. There is nothing more terrifying.
Immediately being introduced to a very important theme for not only the DLC, in my opinion, not only the trailer, but Miquella in general, something we know about him. He wields charisma like a weapon. He wields love like a weapon, and it is terrifying. He rules not through fear, but through love. And there's something terrifying about that, because he also shrives clean the hearts of men. It's as if he removes everything that isn't what he personally wants, because there's something about purity that always has a dark side as well. Not even going to get into the Griffith thing. I know there's tons of people who are going to be getting into that, but the other stuff related to purity, too much of anything is a bad thing. Too much light and nothing can grow. Too much shadow, same thing. There's this idea here that even an extreme of purity can be something dark. And then, of course, this hand, which is the confirmed DLC entry point. We know that for sure. Miyazaki confirmed it in the aforementioned interview. Beautiful shot right here. Are tarnished, represented with the oh my god, I can't remember the wolf garb. I never remember what it's called, but this is like the Elden Ring armor. When we saw the trailer, this is what we wore. Same thing, riding down Torrent. We see the field that we saw before with the promotional image, but now we're here. Very interesting. We see this lovely building. We see the potential of the world. We see these lovely spectral gravestones everywhere. Maybe lovely is the wrong word. There's very much an image here being evoked of an afterlife. This is the land of shadow. But I really wonder, considering the entry to this appears to be something involving slumber, this is a world that exists parallel to the lands between. So there's a lands between, a lands of shadow, and maybe an implied land of light. As a result, maybe that's what we finally know what the lands between is between. It's between the realms of shadow and light. Perhaps that's part of it. But either way, here, to enter this, we need to enter, we enter through Miquella's hand, but there's also this concept of Miquella is slumbering. A lot of characters in the game are slumbering. I've been over this before. Others have talked about it, sleep, death, whatever. But here we are. We kind of have to do a strange dreamlike sequence to enter this place, but it's not quite a dream. It is quite real. Things happened here. There's a history here. This world has been existing while the lands between was existing. And then we have this field of, well, it looks like wheat, field of reeds, whatever. I wonder if this could be a relation to Folkvanger, Norse myths afterlife. One of Norse myths afterlives. There's three as far as I know. There might be more, not an expert, but there is Valhalla, very commonly known, Odin's realm, party town for the warriors. There is Hell, where people who do not die in combat go. And there is Folkvanger, which is Freya's realm. And she and Odin actually split the dead. So half go to Valhalla and half go to Folkvanger, which is described as a field of wheat. This is kind of what I'm seeing here. And with the gravestones everywhere, I can't help but find this is evoked. Also, the concept of the afterlife in Norse mythology is a place that warriors can rest, party, celebrate, fight forever in preparation for Ragnarok, which is coming. So this place of sort of like you're keeping spirits because you're going to need them later. I wonder if this is related somehow. Also, we're seeing a hint of a veil in the sky, and we're about to see more of that. Beautiful, more of the world. Collapsed, crumbling buildings. Things are not looking so good. Right here, this is going to be everyone's thumbnail for their first playthrough. I'm already screenshotting it. This is our big shot of the land that we're going to be exploring. Tons of roots over here, really interesting. Roots that almost look like trees. Green area over here to the left, very lush, looks beautiful. There's at least one image of this area on the Elden Ring website, which I'm probably going to show at the end. Then, of course, the tree. I don't know if this is the ERDTREE or if this is literally a manifestation of the shadow of the ERDTREE. In Dark Souls and FromSoft and Elden Ring, things that are just concepts can take on physical form and affect the world. This is just a thing. The dark and the abyss are things that can influence the world, corrupt its denizens, change them. And now we have shadow. And I wonder if it's going to take on a comparable form in the lore. Now, of course, the main thing I see here is this huge veil in the sky, which first of all can be used to diffuse light, creating the realm that is perpetually shrouded in shadow. Additionally, it seems to be sort of cast over, covering the entire land, and I can't help but be reminded of the concealing veil. The concealing veil is a talisman that is used by the Numen. You can use it yourself. It is used by the Knight of the Black Knives assassins and is made of the same material as their outfits, which help obfuscate their form. It's something associated with them so closely, and these are women that are Numen, and Marika was a female Numen as well. She is now a goddess. We don't know what that kind of means with her, but her origin is the same as these women. And now we have a realm that is diffused in shadow, but also potentially concealed. Maybe that's why. Maybe something so horrific happened here that it was intentionally concealed by Marika or someone else. The concealing veil is a huge item to be referenced here, but then when I think of the concealing veil, I also think of the mimic veil, which I believe was made by Marika. It's possible, it's sort of ambiguous, but another name for the mimic veil, according to its description, is Marika's mischief, which is really interesting. The mimic veil allows you to transform into objects around you in your world. It can be very fun. I've used it quite a bit in PvP. It's very enjoyable to play hide and seek or prop hunt or whatever. But effectively, you can transform into objects that are sort of around you. There's usually an item like this in the games, but here it's being attributed to Marika and her mischief. She was a bit of a troublemaker, associated with stealth, sneakiness, and the ability to conceal things. So I wonder if the reason that this is one of her legendary relics that Godric took from Leyndell, if it perhaps is linked somehow. Other thing, of course, we've seen this before, but the tree itself appears to have parts of it falling. My initial assessment was maybe something like ash, maybe something crashed into it, but now I'm wondering if this is not literally shadow falling off of it as it contends with something above it, perhaps the light. Now, another thing about Norse mythology, and something from FromSoft games as well, they do this all the time, is layered worlds. Worlds layered on top of one another. I can't help but wonder if the shadow world is not at the base of the world and is thus kind of holding up the others. And what would happen if this was literally holding up other worlds? The tree would bend under the weight. It is cracking. This tree is not doing well. In no way, shape, or form does it look healthy. So perhaps in contesting with the weight of things above it, or perhaps in a sort of struggle with the lights, it's crumbling. Parts of the shadow are falling off of it. However, besides the fact the tree is not looking good, otherwise it almost looks like a time of plenty. You can see this as sap bleeding out, therefore a slightly negative thing, but you can also see it as an age of plenty where there is plentiful sap because the blessings of the ERDTREE are represented by sap. So here, this sort of building appears to be like an implement to collect sap that is perpetually dripping down. So it's very interesting that this depiction itself is sort of a symbol of plenty, but also of barrenness. And then we pan up. And we get to see these spectral branches, just a hint of them, and this massive light that seems to be even above the world that the veil is coming out of. Great shot. Gorgeous. This, I believe, is a sequence introducing some NPCs that we're going to encounter, and therefore armor we can wear. This guy looks a lot like a Carian Knight. Armor is a different color, though. But the part on top, I believe, is different. This is testing my memory of armor sets, and you're going to find I fail. Either way, this guy and the way he looks over, very much NPC energy. Also giving me big Lautrec vibes, kind of that like, I bet he's going to have a really low voice and be full of animal magnetism, but we'll get to that. Additionally, rune right here. It's just kind of floating there. I'm going to turn off my cam for just a second so you can see it. Look at that. It's just kind of floating. It's like a crosshatch with a moon. I forget if that's waxing or waning. I think that's waxing moon. My moon phases ain't great, but either way, new rune. But what is it doing? Is it associated with this guy? Potentially. Maybe this is Moongrum's brother, Sungrum. I don't know. We're going to find out together. But either way, really cool hints of some fellows here. Thighs, gladiatorial kind of armor, epic pose, silly face. This guy is going to be cool. Or your worst nightmare. Either way.
In that forsaken place.
Jar guy, big armor. Ooh, this coil column is something I noticed. You can see just a hint of it back here. This guy reminds me a lot of Hawkeye Goff from the Dark Souls 1 DLC. And her. I'm so excited. This area, very Trina. I don't know who this is. I don't know if this is supposed to be Trina. But we definitely got long hair, which I feel like is super evocative of Trina. And the hair itself, while white, almost has a lilac hue to it. Very reminiscent of the area that we're finding this character in. And also in the background, besides the heavy purpley mist very associated with Trina, Trina's lilies everywhere over here. So I wonder, also this mask, I'm very curious about this character.
Blood must spill.
Love this. So Ghost Flame here, Rhea Lucaria, these cages are everywhere in Rhea Lucaria. I really wondered, honestly, that's one little mystery. I'm not sure why there's so many cages in Rhea Lucaria everywhere, just like this. But here, the glintstone is purple. I don't know if we've seen other glintstones over here. I thought these were torches at first, but no, they are straight up glintstones. You can see they don't flicker. And then we see this queenly woman sitting in a chair in this strange place, destroyed place, looking regal. And there is a history of ladies sitting in chairs in FromSoft. I really wonder. This reminds me a lot of Emma as well from Dark Souls 3, who, of course, behind her hides a secret. But I don't know, just another really interesting character we're going to be encountering. Very severe face. Gorgeous swamp. Beautiful swamp. Miyazaki, we're going to be eating good. An oppressive, dark, terrifying looking swamp full of hints of robust color as well at the same time. I love that. They haven't done a swamp like this yet. I hope it's a legacy dungeon and we can't use torrent. Oh my god, that'd be amazing. Ah, these two. Okay, so keep this guy in mind. He's going to show up later. We can tell because of the brooch, and despite the color, this is a gold cloak. Everything here looks gold. A really interesting depiction here. I'm not quite sure who these people are. I don't know if they're anybody we know. Obviously, this right here looks Fia. That right there, the black garb covering the face, definitely reminiscent of Fia. Could be related to her. We know that Fia is an ancient figure because she is one of the only tarnished important enough to be mentioned in the opening cutscene. Those tarnished tend to be either important or just older. There's not really any rhyme or reason as to why they're mentioned, but Fia, the deathbed companion, is important enough to be listed in the opening cutscene as one of the tarnished of the Round Table Hold. As a deathbed companion, she was compelled to give vitality to dead lords. And I mean, this man, if he ain't half dead. Also, the eternal depiction of Prego right here, holding her thumb, hand on the shoulder. This, though, I have to point out, if you're an Attack on Titan fan, you're going to know what I'm talking about. King Fritz, Emir. Like, this is eerie. And a lot of Attack on Titan has... I don't know if FromSoft was inspired by the same stuff. I don't know when these came out. I'm a new fan for Attack on Titan, but this stuff, some of the stuff in the Attack on Titan show, I was like, what the heck? This is Elden Ring. So anyway, there's definitely some stuff going on here, but I'm not sure yet. I'm just pumped. Also, this guy, remember him once again. Yeah. Jars hanging from the ceiling. Oh, this is so neat. Also, the music is amazing. I'm sorry, I have to talk over it, but my God, it's good. This is a turbine. It's spinning. Like, you seeing that? I didn't even know they had that kind of technology in this era. It's literally moving. Dang, how are they doing this? Well, then again, I guess it's basically a water wheel. I don't know what this could be doing, though. Like, I have no concept, but there's definitely some really interesting engineering going on here. And since we're in sort of Lava Town, I wonder if this is perhaps getting close to the boss we're about to be introduced to, the main guy of the trailer, Mesmer. Very associated with lava, but we'll get to that. More areas. This still is fascinating. So one thing that I think we can capture from this that I otherwise didn't see is that the shadow appears to be damaging or corruptive in some way, shape, or form. Corrosive, perhaps. So first of all, we see this area in the light, kind of reminding me a bit of Farah, but I'm not an architecture person. I see and I can't click. I'm not sure. This column, though, appears to have snakes running around it. Really interesting considering some of the stuff we're going to see. But everywhere in the city is fine. In fact, it looks pristine, untouched, undamaged, except maybe in the shadow. But other than that, the architecture is 100% fine, except up here where the shadow touches it. We can see. Now, the tree is over here. In other words, this isn't, this shadow falling from the tree over here. The shadow is rising up as if parts of this building are being consumed. And it's only where the shadow is here. Once again, introducing this concept of shadow influencing the world in a negative way, being able to eat away at things, makes you wonder what it would do to a person. So this, likely a boss. We know a little bit about this from Miyazaki. He didn't talk too much, no confirmed name. But this is a weapon, a horrific weapon that was used in war. It's full of burning bodies. All of these are corpses of the victims of this particular weapon. Now, of course, it looks to me very similar to the Iron Virgins from the Volcano Manor and associated with the Volcano Manor. There's so much relation to what's going on at the Volcano Manor. And this looks like a proto version, which suggests to me, I think this stuff, I'm not saying it's in the past, but I think this stuff is more historical to our story. In other words, this stuff was taking place before Rykard was doing his thing. Not sure, but I'll get into why I think that later. Either way, this is going to be a pretty cool boss. Hopefully not like Fire Giant, though. This thing. I don't know if this is associated with the godskins or not, but I can't help but wonder because, first of all, the stretched, horrifically emaciated form, slick skin, snaky body, and then look up here. These are mouths. They are all mouths. This is a thing made of mouths, no eyes, nothing else, just mouths to consume. It's disturbing. Watch it all the way through. Ugh. So just like it looks like a proto version of the godskins. Perhaps the godskins also allow themselves to be consumed by snakes or beings like that. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here, but it makes me wonder because of the godskin noble we find in the near Riker's arena. That's that godskin noble just chilling there in the snake area, and you're like, what the heck are you doing here? And it's like, Then we see this thing, which almost looks like a previous version of them. This is really interesting. Double jaw. First of all, this hand is about to close the jaw. So this is likely a boss that we're going to encounter. We walk in, it's as usual, pretending to be dead as they do. And then upon being aware of us, it wakes up, and first thing it does, it's close its own jaw. Even the human teeth here do not look particularly human. This jaw is very, very distorted. This is a very interesting creature. Feet. So, first of all, Omen, huge Omen energy, horns, the feet, 1-to-1 Morgoth's feet. In fact, I think they used the same shot in Morgoth's cutscene. Then we see other antlers here. Right here, Crucible Knight armor, the same color, the same patterning, if I'm not mistaken. And then, of course, the face. Hair, different color than the Misbegotten, but the face is very clearly evoking the image of the Misbegotten that we've encountered. This, I'm going to call this Crucible Beast just for, shorthand. This is an amalgam of everything Crucible related that we have seen in the base game. Hence the Crucible Beast name. We got Misbegotten, which are associated with the Crucible. We got the Omen, which are associated with the Crucible, and the aptly named Crucible Knights, which you'll never guess are associated with the Crucible. The Crucible was the primordial bed of life from which all life sprang from, and we learn little bits and pieces about it here and there, but one important thing is mentioned by Muriel. Muriel, Turtle Pope, every time you talk to him, says, heresy is but a contrivance, all things can be conjoined. And that line rings in my head every time I see something to do with the Crucible. If all life sprang from one source, then it's true, everything can be conjoined, because that's what life used to be. So we're seeing in this trailer, you've probably noticed a lot of strange fusions. We get a hippo that kind of looks, uses like porcupine spines. We have Crucible Knights, which use dragon tails and wings, and this being, which is an amalgam of all these different Crucible-based creatures. It's like a pure form of what we've already encountered, suggesting this, once again, is older than what we've encountered in base game. However, I will also note that it also looks like someone wearing this as a skin. There's something very distorted and unsightly with this creature. It's also possible this is a transformation, because we know that coming into contact with the Crucible can give you animal parts, and it used to be seen as a blessing, but due to Radigan and his Golden Order fundamentalism, his obsession with the ERDTREE made him want to erase the ERDTREE's history, including when it used to not be the ERDTREE and instead was the Great Tree. So he tries to get rid of all that, which is why this sort of stuff is seen as heretical, negative, and cursed by the time that we are playing the game. But in the past, the Omen were not despised and Misbegotten weren't mistreated. Well, as far as we know, at least they weren't maligned the way that they are, because there was nothing wrong with the Crucible. It was just a representation of life. I've seen some theorizing. I know some people in my chat were really insisting this is going to be Miquella's Shadow Beast. I personally don't think so, just because the Shadow Beasts apparently were created by the ERDTREE by the Two Fingers, who work for the Elden Beast, who is aligned with the ERDTREE, for the Empyreans. But the Two Fingers create the shadows. So the Two Fingers would probably not create something that is so associated with the initial form of the ERDTREE, which is the crucible. That it just doesn't track. This is before that, I think. Doesn't mean the shadows won't be there. I just don't think this is it. Also, I initially thought this might be Deathblade. I don't think it is. I think it's just like Omen smoke. Or maybe Shadow. Maybe it's Shadow. I don't know. But this reminds me of the stuff that Morgott would do during his boss fight as his Omen crucible-ness starts to kind of eke out. And then, of course, lightning. Once again, going back to everything being conjoined. These creatures are able to use more things because dragons came from the same place as the beasts, as the misbegotten, as the, you know, all these things are just combined. So I wonder if that's what that's supposed to be a reference to. However, the guy who's about to show up also has dragon things associated with him. So we'll get to that. Maybe it's more linked to him.
Mother, wouldst thou truly lordship sanction in one so bereft of light?
Love it. Okay, I just want to watch that all the way through because there is so much to talk about in this tiny little sequence. First of all, this is gonna be a major boss of the DLC. Probably not the major boss, but definitely someone important. He's got a name, he's got lore, and he's got a lot of associations with him. Number one, first thing we see, snake. And then the hand kind of gently moving along. This is a graceful figure. Every shot of him is almost looks like a Renaissance painting. He is full of animal magnetism. And we'll get to why that's important considering his name is Mesmer. I can't wait. This is like omega nerdiness. But you know what? We'll start with this. Let me read this to you. This is from Etym Online. It's an etymology website that I love to look up the origin of words. So Mesmer, of course, mesmerized. So I was like, why is his name Mesmer? This is why. So mesmerism is the doctrine that one person can exercise influence over the will and nervous system of another and produce certain phenomena by virtue of a supposed emanation called animal magnetism. This was from 1798 from French mesmerisme, named for Franz Anton Mesmer, an Austrian physician who developed a theory of animal magnetism and a mysterious body fluid which allows one person to hypnotize another, and propounded it in 1778 in Paris. The word, if still used, is practically synonymous with hypnotism or artificial somnambulism. This is hugely relevant to everything that we've seen about him, and I'm once again reminding you of the very first line of this trailer involving wielding love like a weapon and associating that with Miquella. It's also something Marika does, which is actually why I think this is one of Marika's children. I was predicting a new forgotten family member in the DLC, just like DS3 Filianor. It's like, surprise, Gwyn had another kid. You just didn't hear about her for 3 full games. So I'm not surprised by this. I wasn't expecting another child though. Also, once again, not confirmed. I don't know if this is confirmed or not. It's just everything to me is pointing to this. Additionally, his very first line is to Mother. And I don't know if he's facetious. I don't know if he's kind of being cheeky, you know, like, oh, Mother, there's no way you would select someone like this, you know, like that sort of vibe, that trickstery kind of Dio from JoJo's vibe, you know, like he's an interesting one, very sleek, very seductive for sure, which is also where the Riker connection comes in. It's not just a snake, but
Mother, wouldst thou?
He summons shadow, which then turns to flame and grows. He uses something very reminiscent to Riker's lava sorcery. It's not fire, it's lava. And even here you can see tendrils of shadow swirling. I wonder if this guy has somehow found a way to wield something comparable to Chaos from the Dark Souls series. Dark Souls features the Chaos Flame, which is a twisted, distorted version of the first flame, and is basically, the origin of the Chaos Flame is a mix of light and the dark, which is so prevalent in the world and thus has the properties of both. But it is a horrific, explosive, corruptive flame that endlessly consumes, or will endlessly spews out demons. And then we have this vivid blasphemer with his Renaissance pose and his phallic snake and his phallic weapon. And we got so much going on, I don't even know how to talk about it. Number one thing, he's got drake scales on him, dragon imagery, and wait for this. My man has a dragon eye. The other eye appears to be sealed. Very interestingly. Now, this exact eye is something that you can get in the game yourself. I think if you consume dragon hearts, it's not a route I've ever taken. And also it's overwritten by the bloody finger eye and the frenzy eye. But this eye is the eye you can get by eating a lot of dragon hearts. So this guy is associated with the dragon eaters, the dragon cults. It looks like he has, this looks like a dragon, but I think it's actually a snake. I've seen another image of his helmet and it looks like a snake. So he's got snakes, but also wings on his helmet. His snakes themselves have wings on them. They're winged serpents, and serpents in Dark Souls lore are often failed dragons. That is sort of what they were trying to do. This guy seems like a guy who was trying to become a dragon and did not succeed like everyone else. But he's still capable of wielding some really interesting power. Also, red hair, which is what's got me stumped, because I'm like, okay, so if Marika's your mom, who's your dad? Is it Radigan again? But then that would make you really young. How does that fit? I don't know what to do with this man's yet. I wonder if Marika has even more sordid history with red-haired seducers. Not sure, but he is very interesting already and really hot.
Rest of light.
This is a sequence that showcases some new weapon types, I'm pretty sure. I think they've confirmed weapon types. I think chat mentioned it when I was streaming, but either way, this, I didn't notice this first time through. I was too busy looking at these enemies and trying to see things, but look at this moveset. Right here, the blade is held in reverse. So normally, you know, in this game, you hold your weapons like this, but these are held like this. So that might be a different weapon category. Maybe you can switch. I don't know, but this is super interesting, very dynamic, gorgeous. And this is something, I think Dark Souls 3 had this. I don't remember the weapon name, but it had a like an ash or something, the equivalent of an ash. You can throw the weapon and then it reappears in your hands. How cool is that? And then this is my personal highlight. Butterfly based spells, faith spells of some kind. I cannot wait to see more about this. Butterflies, of course, associated with Millennia. Moths are, especially silkworm moths or silk moths, are very associated with Miquella based on the cocoons in the ERDTREE, the spinning, the needles. We'll go into that later. There's plenty of time to talk about Miquella, but effectively, or maybe not later, maybe like a whole nother time, but effectively, butterflies, right? We see pink butterflies in one place in the game. It's in the ERDTREE, right above Millennia's arena. There is that waterfall of rotted water full of servants of rot who are just chilling, and then beautiful light pink flowers and ethereal spectral pink butterflies floating around. You can't interact with them. They're not items you can pick up. They're not like the nascent butterflies. It's the only time we've seen pink butterflies, and now we have this aggressively pink magic that also casts just like Nebula, my favorite Ash of War in the entire game, unique to the Wing of Estelle and the Bastard Stars. And look at the stance. Everything about this is stunning. It's a damaging spell, just like Nebula. You can see the enemies react to them. I can't wait to see more about this. You know I love butterflies. You know I love pink. I'm so pumped. Kicking. New weapon category likely involving basically just kick. New craftables, potentially with giant jars. Ishin Ashina's Glock. And this is like the dragon roar. You can see the legs right here. It's like a blink and you'll miss it. This is someone casting a bear roar, some sort of unique bear we haven't seen yet. Bear face, a horn, potentially armor, maybe an armored bear, but then the red fur. I almost see a golden eye here. I wonder if this is something associated with Mesmer, which would be interesting because Radigan has his red wolves. But either way, this is going to be a new, like a dragon spell. Rather than dragon, you summon a bear and you summon its whole face and roar. So this beautiful lady, once again, Notice the way she's holding the weapons, really interesting. Very much Dancer of the Boreal Valley. We know about the warrior in blue who trained Melania, the legendary warrior, where we get the warrior starting gear from. There's several talismans related. I'm not going to get into him, but we know about him, but we haven't heard about a lady in red, also with a glorious dancing, flowing fighting style. So I can't wait to see more of what's going on here. Never mind this gorgeous area, which is just mind-blowingly stunning. Oh, was that knock on architecture? Hang on, we're all learning things together here, gamers. Right here. That looks like Nogron ruins and architecture to me. Interesting. Okay. Love, love, love. Enemy on War Boar? Love that. A hippo porcupine. Once again, more animal fusions. This guy, who literally looks like he's riding a recolor of freaking Leonard. Like this is, I think, reused from Radon, some of these animations and stuff, but I'm not saying this is Radon, but it's interesting. Also a boomerang weapon. I really wonder if we're going to get something like that. That'd be so cool. Also, watch the neck. Ugh. Here we go. The guy I was so excited to talk about. So this guy, first of all, number one, old monk from Demon Souls, also like a really old desiccated guy wearing gold garb. Really wondering about that, especially since I think this guy is associated with the hunters of those who live in death. Then, of course, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the centipedes from Sekiro. They were said to bring immortality, but at basically great cost. Immortality is not a good thing to attain in any FromSoft game. It always comes at a cost. And I wonder about this guy. And the reason I bring up gold and centipedes is because look at his body. He's impaled. Mesmer the Impaler. He's impaled on what looks like his own spine? But his body looks like it's become a centipede. You can see here. You can see right here. You can see all over his body is taken on the form of a golden centipede. His bones themselves are gold. And he's trying to pull this out of his head. But as he does, it's like he's pulling his rib cage out. Like he can't do it. Now, the hunters of those who live in death are said to keep golden centipedes as like a fetish, like an object of worship, basically, like representative of their order. And I couldn't figure out why golden centipedes. And I wonder if it's not because of this guy. We don't know anything about him yet, but I wonder if perhaps, and if that was Fia in the portrait, or perhaps another deathbed companion, I don't know. But it's interesting that perhaps if this was someone that Fia served, then later she worked with those who lived in death, becoming their mother. It'd be interesting if the person that she's depicted with is also the reason that the hunters of those who live in death exist. Either way, I'm looking forward to seeing more about this.
The race of gold shall all meet death.
So now we hear Mesmer talking about those who are stripped of the grace of gold. Those would be the tarnished, but the word tarnish is never used. I don't know if that's a term that they don't use here or what, but Mesmer seems to see himself as like a force to cleanse those who have no light. Or maybe that's facetious. I don't know. It's hard to read him so far. He's gotten 2 lines of dialogue. Great shot right here. This, I believe, by the way, is going to be his Ash of War. Boom. Impales into the ground because his name is Mesmer the Impaler. Lava explodes outward everywhere, and then when the lava dissipates, he thrusts his spear into the ground, and then spears pop up from the ground, very much like Melania's Clean Rot Knights. Interestingly, they have a similar thing, but their spears are spectral. He thrusts into the ground, the spears thrust up around from where the lava was, and then he resummons his spear in fire. So cool. Also, his eyes closed. I didn't mention that because it was a little hard to see before, but he only has one open eye. Not sure what to get from this yet. We know there's a couple figures like that. Ronnie, Melina, very famously. Also, Melina, known for being burned and bodiless. And then there's this guy with the same closed eye who seems to really like fire and lava. Interesting. Either way, we can see the snake here. We can see the wing of the snake over here too, kind of floating up there. He has given his snakes little armor. It's really cute, actually, to be honest. I love him.
Come now. Touch the withered arm.
So, this is Nephili speaking as well. I recognize the voice. But it looks like Nephili will have a part in this, maybe to guide you. Maybe she'll enter the DLC as well. It would be interesting because they've never done, as far as I can remember, there's been no enemy that, or ally, no NPC that we know of that has been in the base game and the DLC, with the exception of DS3's Lap, who is kind of an oddity on his own. But either way, yes, this concept is really interesting considering her questline felt very unfinished even after it was patched. So interesting here.
And travel to the realm of shadow. I will not be far behind.
And the crucible! We used the crucible wing spell. Oh, and this looks like another new weapon category too. It's like a shield paired with a weapon. Very excited. So then we get the name drop, the Miquella, of course. Well, probably Miquella. Light is exuding from his palm. His palm seems to take on the same shape as the, like, look at this. This exact scene is so fascinating. So this is a great shot of the tree I want to talk about here. The tree itself looks like a hand that is holding light, but I don't know how to read it. I read it perhaps as the light is weighing the tree down, or maybe it's simply cupping it the way that Miquella does with his hand. Not sure what's going on with that yet. There's so many ways to read the same image, and that's what I love so much, is FromSoft's ambiguity and ability to stir the imagination. The ability they have to spark conversation and creativity in us is unmatched, and I love it. So that's the end of the trailer. We get the release date, June 21st, 2024, and we get pre-order bonus, which is just a different ring. And then we get another cool shot of Mesmer the Impaler statue for the pre-order bonus. We get to see this really cool icon. His icon, it looks like, that is also on his cape here at the back. But I want to talk about it because it's really interesting as well. Basically just, you know, a ring impaled by a spear with a snake coiled around it. Then we see this interesting, I feel like I've seen this exact symbol on Miquella's, on the helmets of Miquella's soldiers in the ERDTREE, a flame, like the one he holds in his hand, and then what looks like just sort of maybe lava or like flame bubbling from below. Then another icon with two snakes wrapped around each other, ton of snakes everywhere. You know what I just realized? It's probably a two-headed snake. Look at this. It's a two-headed snake. Oh my god, it's Dark Souls 2. Okay, I need to calm down. I didn't realize, I didn't put this together until now. But in Dark Souls 2, there is a shield that has that exact depiction, but it depicts what appears to be the serpents from Dark Souls 1, Koth and Frampt, but they're both the same. And that's actually a really interesting part of the lore in Dark Souls, is that there's these two snakes that talk to you, and they're huge. And you never see the bottom. Their bottom literally vanishes into a pit. But one of them tells you that light is good, to put it very simply, and the other tells you that light is a lie and dark is good. But that shield has them drawn just like that. And it turns out that these snakes telling you opposite things are two-headed, two heads, part of the same body, is sort of the hint that's being portrayed there. And I can't help but see the link here. This is huge. So I want to talk a little bit more about Mesmer, but there's something about him that is very primal. You know, he uses dark and light in a very lava in a really like primal form, versus someone like Miquella, who he seems to be juxtaposed with in some way, shape, or form. I don't know if it's meant to be like, oh, they're two halves of the same coin type thing, like Rading and Marika. I'm not sure. I personally just think that they're meant to be linked in terms of theming. So Miquella can compel affection. He has learned how to compel affection, is I believe the phrasing from one of his item descriptions, the bewitching branch. But it looks like in a really different way. He is like pure radiant light versus this figure who is the complete opposite, dark, corrupted. He's got dragon corruption. He's got this failed snake thing. He uses shadow potentially and lava. He's a blasphemer, just like Rykard. It's really interesting. Oh, and that's one thing I want to talk about as well with Rykard. So one thing about all of Rennala and Radagon's children is they kind of have someone that they follow. So Ranni is very much like her mother Rennala, lunar princess, very high int, very intelligent, uses sorceries and magic as her main source of everything. Also associated with the moon, a different moon, but still the moon, just like her mother. She ended up taking a different path, but a lot of her origin can be traced to Rennala. Additionally, Radahn is clearly a huge fan of Godfrey. He looks up to him, he wants to be just like him, and kind of models himself on Godfrey, which is where the lion thing comes from. It's Godfrey's Siraj. So then there's Rykard. Where did he get the idea to become a lava-based blasphemer from? So if this is one of Marika's earlier children, perhaps from an unknown source, then potentially this guy was the blueprint that Rykard followed. Maybe Mesmer came first. FromSoft likes to do this where they introduce something in DLC that actually came way before, but because our only frame of reference is something in the base game, we assume that, in this case, Rykard led to Mesmer, but it's possible it's the reverse. Not sure. Either way, time is very strange in these games. That's very simple. These worlds, the Land of Shadow and the lands between, seem to be concurrent. Oh, also, sorry, I don't think I read this. Further obfuscating all this information related to Mesmer, Rykard, timelines is, of course, the description itself, which refers to the place obscured by the ERDTREE, perhaps because it's a shadow. And a place that Marika first set foot, goddess Marika first set foot. So Marika was here way before anything else. By reading this, I wonder if this doesn't, mean that Marika became a goddess here. Either way. So Marika came here first, and then Miquella followed, and we are following Miquella. There is 2 levels of following occurring here. Miquella's following Marika, we are following Miquella. So by following Miquella's footsteps, we're also following Marika's footsteps, which creates this really interesting timeline thing. Because yes, these worlds are concurrent. They are influencing each other in some way, shape, or form apparently, but they're also very separate from one another. I would love to know how Marika found it. Miquella too, but then again, perhaps this symmetry of Marika walked, Miquella followed down the line could perhaps be something related to all this. Perhaps the way that one of them found it is the same way the other found it. Either way, all this is to say, I'm very excited. I have talked about this for quite a while, and it's a 3-minute trailer, and I'm sure there is still more that we can talk about. So please, if I missed anything, if you have other theories, feel free to share in the comments. Everything. I love this sort of thing. This is some images from the website that weren't in the trailer, so I just wanted to show through these. Gorgeous. One of these is going to be my wallpaper. Look at this guy. Yeah, us using the sort of porcupine-ish ash. It kind of looks like thorns, maybe briars, but a little bit more natural than what we see of like the blood briars. This, oh my god, this is my favorite. This image stresses me out so much. It's like Winter Lantern at home. Kick! I love this. It's so funny. I love this image because it has so much comedy in it as well while it's showing off so much. Another image of Nina from Fullmetal Alchemist just dropped. I can't wait to go here. Oh my god. Oh, this is probably my wallpaper. I love Mesmer. Everything about his design is mesmerizing. This little guy. This guy is either going to be, I said this on stream, but this guy is either going to be like a cute little goober or the worst nightmare monster you've ever seen in your life. There's no in between. Cute. All right. So those are the images. And unrelated, but indirectly related, I am intending to stream every single of the modern FromSoft games: Demon Souls, Dark Souls 1 through 3, Bloodborne, Sekiro, and maybe Elden Ring as well, one more time. And it's going to be on stream, YouTube, Twitch. Basically, we're doing a FromSoft Loreathon in preparation for the DLC. I was planning on it before, but now it's officially getting ready for the DLC. So if you're a little fuzzy on the lore and you want to refresh, it's going to be perfect for you. That's what I'm doing it for, and then we can share it all together. So, you know the drill. Let me know what you thought. Let me know what I missed. Let me know what your favorite part of the trailer was. And thank you so much for watching, everybody. Take it easy. See you soon.